passing under the National Bridge. To the right is Monroe, in the pass called Strasbourg. The name Strasbourg comes from Strasse and Organ, the town of the street. It wasn't so long ago that the peasants used to head directly for Le Grand Rue, when going from the train station to the town centre. On their way, they could buy their clothes from Jewish tailors. On your left is St. John Quay. The house, which used to be number 6, is known as the House of Regret. In 1613, a young 18-year-old, condemned to death for trying to put his mother's house on fire, was given his last meal here. This tradition continued for a long time after, and the convicts were offered a meal and a glass of wine at the expense of the town. The Dominicans of St. Mark, who had been driven away from their convent, built St. John Church in 1477. In 1944, the church was destroyed by the bombing, but it was identically reconstructed in 1965. In the 17th century, the building belonged to the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem. In 1725, a magnificent dinner party was organized and took place here in honor of the Polish royal family. The purpose of this party was to negotiate the marriage between Louis XV and Marie Leczinska. You could never imagine that on your left it was a synagogue until the Second World War, and up to just a couple of years ago, a beautiful old train station in the style of Napoleon III, used as an indoor marketplace since 1884. It has been replaced by this modern shopping centre called Centre Al. The market bridge in front of us is a reminder of the old train station. The coats of arms from the capital, the large towns in eastern France and Basel, are still to be seen here for those interested in nostalgia. The coats of arms are inserted into the stonework of the quay. The Bridge of Paris got its name from the railway connecting the two cities, which opened in 1852. Inside the wall of the Kléber Quay, there are still some mooring points. On this quay, Quai Kléber, you can admire the decorative houses, among others, the Bauernda, whose illuminated facade shows a group of peasants dancing to the music of a bagpipe. We have to remember that the bagpipe was the most popular instrument in Alsace until the Reformation. Stone bridge, called Pont-de-Pierre, reminds us of the old Roman path covered in cobblestone. The path connected the military camp of Argentoratum, now Strasbourg, with Brugge-Magis, the political capital of that time, now Brumas. To the left, the grey building with ionic pillars is the courthouse built at the end of the 19th century, after inspiration from an architect from Berlin. Beside the palace, in pink sandstone, is the Catholic church, Saint-Pierre-le-Jeune. which was also built at the end of the 19th century. The Bridge of the Foundry, in front of the palace and the church, is the only one built after 1870 and is still totally functional today. We can make out the Rhine Palace, a former imperial palace built by William I. It still houses the Central Commission for Navigation on the Rhine, the first European committee created in 1868. The people of Strasbourg have a great admiration for the Place de la République, a good example of the German architecture at the end of the 19th century, and the National Theatre, the Conservatory of Music, and the services of the Prefecture are situated around it. Every spring, one can go and admire the many wonderful magnolias. To the right are the officer mess and the Alsatian satirical theatre called Barablin. It was created and animated by German Müller, who was deputy major here at the time. Still on your right, the Municipal Opera, where Wagner conducted a concert. Also on the right, Prefect's Mansion, built in 1730 by the royal moneylender François-Joseph de Clingman. Some years later, he sold the building to the town of Strasbourg, even though it had been constructed with material and manpower provided by the town. Today it's the seat of the Prefet. On your left, after the footbridge, is a building in the German Renaissance style. It is the Lycée des Pontonniers, an old secondary school, once only for young girls, built in 1904. A lot of romances took place on the riverbanks of this area. The half-timbering of the Lycée is much older and comes from another building not far away. A half-timbered house is easy to pull down and move, and in Alsace is considered more as a piece of furniture than as a building. To the right, you can distinguish a hexagonal tower with Carolingian characteristics. This is the tower of St. Etienne Church, or rather, what is left of it. This church has been particularly badly treated. According to legend, the Duke Adalbert, brother of St. Odile, the Saint of Alsace, built the Benedictine monastery here in the 8th century. Research has shown that St. Etienne was constructed on the foundations of a building from the late Roman Empire, probably a civilian basilica transformed into a church. Some people think that this might have been the first cathedral of Strasbourg. The Fisherman's Quay. A lot of the houses of this quay have been mentioned in documents since 1279. Until the end of the 19th century, it was the main part of the trading port of Strasbourg. We come now to the Palace of Europe. We're going to pass through new residential areas. Have a look at the modern architectural style. It is a style which is particularly present here in Strasbourg, though forgotten by the tourist guides, who prefer the half-timbered houses. After the Royal Bridge in front of us are the two towers of St. Paul's Church. St. Elizabeth of Marburg on the Lahn, a tributary river to the Rhine, inspired the architecture. Prestigious exhibitions have been held at St. Paul's Church for some years now. For example, the 2,000 Years of Alsatian Written Works was visited by both the Pope John Paul II and Francois Mitterrand. And now we have arrived at the old University Bridge, a masterpiece of metallic architecture called Pont d'Auvergne. Now you can see the Vier Manor Brug, the Bridge of the Four Men, whose sculptures represent the waterworks. The bridge is now called Pont Kennedy. We can find the Mullenheim family here from 1332 on. In fact, on a Wednesday of that year, 4 weeks after Easter, they got in a violent fight with the Zorns, another powerful family here, that also has a key in Strasbourg now. Both families got in a quarrel during a banquet, where about 20 nobles lost their lives. The people of the town, fearing the continuing of the fighting the day after, obtained the right to maintain the public security. They took their weapons away and gave each family an area of the town. On the right riverbank lay Rouget de Lille. You certainly know this name, the name of the author of the French hymn, the Marseillaise. At its creation, it was a war song for the Rhine army, composed in Strasbourg during a night in 1792 by a young officer with red hair. The same officer that interpreted the song by the Mayor Friedrich de Dietrich. Talking about the Marseillaise, some people argue that the music had actually come from Haydn, through Ignaz Pleyel, who was at that time the master of the chapel at the cathedral. What's more, they say, the text of the Marseillaise could not have been 100% written by Rouget de Lille. But all this is nonsense. The Marseillaise, written by an officer from Franche-Comté, is in fact utterly Strasbourgeoise. After these houses, on your left, form a Place de Schiltigheim, called since 1918 Place de Bordeaux. This name comes from the 1st of March 1871 and the protest of the Alsatian members of Parliament against France abandoning Alsace-Lorraine. This protest was one of the first calls by the people to have the right to decide their own destiny. To the left, the head office of Arte, the Association of European Television. Arte was founded in April 1991 as a European Economic Interest Group. We join now the buildings housing the European institutions. On both sides of the bridge are the offices of the European Parliament. To your left, the new amphitheatre, 750 seats, built by the city of Strasbourg to face the enlargement of the European Parliament. Most of the offices of the European Members of Parliament are located in the tower. The amphitheatre is a symbol of the town, lying in the heart of the building and surrounded by gardens, creating a wall of green. We have now arrived to where the Marne Canal of the Rhine crosses the River Eel before joining the area of the autonomous port of Strasbourg. In front of us, the European Court of Human Rights, created by the architect Richard Rogers in 1995. The court has its permanent seat there since November 1998. The European Convention of Human Rights allows any union citizen to lodge a complaint against the country if he believes one of his rights, provided by the Convention, has been violated. On your left, behind the foliage, the Palace of Europe, where the Council of Europe has its seat. The Council was founded in 1949 and today has about 40 member states, about 10 of which are democracies from Central and Eastern Europe. The Council is working towards a European identity based on freedom, democracy and human rights. Strasbourg has been chosen as the seat of this institution and as a symbol of conciliation and peace. On your left, the administration block of the European Parliament. The Parliament participates in planning the budget and the administrative aspects of the European Union. RT is equally held between France and Germany. The European partners are dialectically associated, and through the network cable and satellite, more than 130 million television viewers can watch the programs of RT in their national language.